Peer relationships constitute the second powerful source of social influence on the development of aggression. Aggressive children are rejected by their peers from an early age, and rejection is associated with subsequent increases in aggression. Consistent with this pattern, Rolf et al. 2017 showed that children who respond to anger-eliciting situations in a maladaptive way, such as acting out their anger by throwing objects around, are likely to be rejected by their peers, and social rejection predicts an increase in aggressive behavior. As a result of being marginalized by their non-aggressive peers, aggressive children tend to associate with other aggressive peers, entering social systems that further promote aggressive norms and aggressive and antisocial behavior. Thus, they become immersed in a social context where social acceptance depends on the willingness to engage in further aggression. In addition to reacting to the aggressive behavior of individuals with social rejection or approval, peers are a direct source of influence on the development of individuals' aggressive behavior. A fruitful line of thinking to conceptualize the effect of aggressive peer groups on the individual is captured by the metaphor of aggression as a contagious disease. Past research on the peer contagion of aggression focused on either self-selected peer groups or on groups pre-selected for having a high level of aggression. By contrast, studies examining contagion effect in classroom communities to which students are assigned by the school administration are able to minimize self-selection effects and can exploit the greater variability in aggressive behavior compared with groups pre-selected for high levels of aggression. In a two-wave study with elementary school children, Rolf et al. 2016 investigated the effect of classroom aggression on both physical and relational aggression. They found that the higher the level of both forms of aggressive behavior were in their class community, the more aggressive individual class members were 10 months later, controlling for the temporal stability of aggression as well as participants' gender and age. Similar results were found in a study with adolescents that investigated the contagion of peer aggression in the broader context of antisocial behaviors such as delinquency, vandalism, or substance abuse, which often co-occur with aggressive behavior. In a sample of almost 17,000 male and female adolescents distributed across 1,300 classrooms at 2 points in time 1 year apart, the higher the average level of antisocial behavior in a classroom was at time 1, the more antisocial behavior individual class members showed at time 2. Other findings support the idea that the contagious effect of aggression not only spreads within a group, but also permeates other interconnected ecosystems. Individuals who are surrounded by aggressive friends are at risk of introducing aggression into other spheres of their life and affecting individuals that had no direct contact with the original source of the aggressive behavior. In line with the idea of aggression as a contagious disease, studies have examined the differential susceptibility of individuals to the influence of aggressive peers. As with diseases, exposure to pure aggression should particularly affect those individuals who enter the group with a low level of aggression, that is, those who have not yet caught the disease, whereas those already infected should be comparatively less affected by the aggressive behavior around them. This line of reasoning was supported in a series of studies using multi-level modeling to study the interaction between classroom levels of aggression and individual levels of aggression over time. Multi-level modeling offers a statistical approach for addressing the question whether exposure to an aggressive peer environment has the same effect on all individuals or varies in relation to the level of aggression the individuals bring to the environment. The finding that children's aggressive behavior increases over time if the level of aggression in their class as a whole is high represents a main effect of the classroom level of aggression. If the classroom level affects individual class members differently depending on how aggressive they were when they entered the class, this reflects a cross-level interaction between the classroom level and the individual level of analysis. Consistent with the idea of contagion, Rolfe et al. 2016 found a significant cross-level interaction between individuals' relational aggression and the level of relational aggression among their class members. Elementary school children who showed initial low levels of relational aggression scored significantly higher on relational aggression 10 months later if they were in classrooms with a high level of relational aggression. By contrast, students with initially high levels of relational aggression were unaffected by the level of relational aggression in their classroom, which means that they remained at a high level even in classes in which the overall level of aggression was low. Similarly, Bushing and Crahy, 2018, analyzed cross-level interactions between individual and classroom antisocial behavior in an adolescent sample. In line with their hypotheses, initially non-antisocial participants showed more antisocial behavior 1 year later the higher the level of classroom antisocial behavior had been in their class at the beginning of the study. By contrast, participants with initially high levels of antisocial behavior were largely unaffected by their peers' level of antisocial behavior. These findings indicate that being part of an aggressive environment infects initially healthy class members whose aggression levels move towards the class level over the course of time, whereas it has little effect on those who have already caught the aggressive behavior. To understand how this contagious effect is generated, it is helpful to consider the normative beliefs about aggression in classrooms with a higher level of aggressive behavior. Bushing and Crahy, 2015, found a significant cross-level interaction between class-level normative beliefs and individual physical aggression. Individuals with low levels of aggressive behavior at the start of the study showed more physical aggression 12 months later if they had been in a class with a high tolerance of aggression than if they had been surrounded by classmates with a low tolerance of aggression. By contrast, individuals with initially high levels of physical aggression were more aggressive 10 months later, regardless of their peers' tolerance of physical aggression. This finding is consistent with the learning of aggressive scripts discussed earlier, Huseman 1998, which not only involves the acquisition of aggressive behavior, but also the learning of group-specific social norms promoting or suppressing aggression. In addition, by looking at cross-level interactions in the path from aggression to social rejection over time, Rolfe et al. 2016, we're able to show that aggressive students become less socially rejected over time if they are in a class with a high collective level of aggression. No effect of class level on social rejection of initially non-aggressive students was found. This finding suggests that aggressive behavior becomes normalized in aggressive classrooms, changing the normative and social context in the direction of making aggressive behavior more acceptable. As a result, aggressive children meet with less social rejection. The reported studies also examined the role of gender as a possible moderator of class-level effects and cross-level interactions. Although significant moderator effects of gender were identified, the results did not yield a consistent pattern. In the younger sample studied by Rolfe et al. 2016, class members were more affected by the collective levels of relational aggression of their same sex than their opposite sex peers. In their adolescent sample, Bushing and Crahy, 2015, found that the aggression levels of girls in a class had a greater impact on both male and female class members than the aggression levels of boys in predicting increases in aggressive behavior over a period of 3 years. To the extent that boys become more interested in being accepted as dating partners by girls, they may move in the direction of the girls' collective norms and aggressive behavior. However, more research is needed to clarify the role of gendered patterns of aggressive behavior as a class-level influence on individual aggression. This chapter has traced the emergence of individual differences in aggression from early childhood to adolescence, but development does not stop there. Adults differ as much as children and adolescents in their aggressive response tendencies. The next chapter will therefore address the relationship between personality and aggression in adulthood. It will also summarize the large literature on the role of gender as another variable related to individual differences in aggressive behavior. Summary. Aggressive behavior emerges in early childhood, with boys generally displaying higher levels of aggression than girls from preschool age onwards. In age-normative patterns of development, aggression declines as children get older, giving way to non-aggressive strategies of conflict resolution. However, if aggressive behavior persists into adolescence, it becomes more harmful in its consequences and is more often socially organized in the form of gangs and group violence. Individual differences in aggression show considerable stability from childhood to adolescence and into young adulthood. Nonetheless, some children who start off with a high level of aggression show a declining trajectory as they grow older, and others show a late onset of aggression in adolescence without a previous history of aggressive behavior. Intrapersonal risk factors for the development of aggression include both affective and cognitive variables. Maladaptive anger regulation, deficits in executive function and theory of mind, and the habitual tendency to attribute hostile intentions to others were found in longitudinal studies to predict higher aggression levels over time. Among the risk factors in the social environment, exposure to harsh parental discipline, social rejection by peers, and the selective affiliation with aggressive peer groups contribute to the development and stabilization of aggressive behavior. In line with the idea of aggression as a contagious disease, research has shown that being exposed to an aggressive classroom community of peers leads to an increase of aggressive behavior over time. This is true especially for those individuals who enter these classrooms with a low level of aggression, who catch aggressive behavior from their peers and show an increase in aggressive behavior over time.